Hello everyone, my name is Blackwatch. What a mighty task we have here today. We are looking at doing one tip for every single operator in Siege. This is going to be a long one, so grab some popcorn, whatever beverage you want to enjoy, sit with me, and we'll have a nice afternoon / evening / morning looking at some tips in Siege. So we're going to start with the attackers, and we're going to go from top to bottom. So this is going to be all the vanilla ones, and then we'll go through all the DLCs, and then we'll swap over to the defender side. One tip for every operator. Sledge. Always breach when you're crouching, so that you can walk in rather than vaulting in. So crouching gives you a chance to retreat. If you decide that actually pushing through that breach is not a good idea, you can walk back out. Whereas if you vault in, you're locked, basically, because you have to then turn around completely and do an animation to get out. So, bad choice. Always crouch for the breach. With Thatcher, do your job before you go into a fight. Way too many times you see thirsty Thatcher players going straight in and deciding today's the day that I'm going to fight and I'm going to get loads of kills, and oh, the team now doesn't have any anti-gadget. So that's not a good situation to be in. Ash, remember that your breaching round has a big radius, so you can use it for underfloor anti-gadget stuff. So this is something that Buck can do, but it's also something that Ash can do. If there's like a mirror set up, or if there's, I don't know, bandit batteries or something, then you can go underneath and you can deal with those, because Amira is not going to stand next to her mirror if there's an Ash staring through the floor with one of the strongest guns in the game. With Thermite, if you place his charge next to a hatch, as long as it's on a destructible floor, it will bypass a Kaid charge. You've got to place it close enough without being too close, because if you're too close, the charge will destroy your exothermic charge. But get that happy balance and your explosion radius will be big enough to destroy the hatch whilst not being impeded by the Kaid thing. But be aware, it does leave you open to someone throwing an impact grenade or shooting the charge. But hopefully if they throw an impact, they'll also destroy the electroclaw, so, you know, swings and roundabouts. Take the shortest possible route to the wall you want to clear when playing as Twitch. Minimise your exposure to the bad lads, minimise your chances of losing your drone before you've actually done the job. So basically, if there's a drone hole, use that. If there is not a drone hole, pick the shortest path possible. As a Mont, use your shield to corral enemies out of position and feed your teammates info constantly. So you're wanting to basically force enemies to move into positions that they either do know are bad and are now pressurized in, or don't know they're bad, which is the best one, and they're now basically just dead because they're not prepared for them to be exposed to an angle that they didn't realize was unsafe. So always feed your teammates info, try and push the bad guys out of position. With Glaz, don't forget that you can turn your flip sight off. There's a lot of Glaz players who like to push into sights with the flip sight up. This is not a good strategy at all, because you're up close. You don't need to be staring up the nostrils, you just need to be seeing a nice view of their face. So remember that. Just push that right bumper, or that middle scroll wheel, or R1 on PlayStation, I'm assuming. Yeah. If you're Fuze, drone before you charge, because it's good to know where people are so that you're not just wasting charges. A lot of Fuze players, for some reason, like to just place charges and hope that someone's there. This is a bad plan because you're wasting utility. You should always be doing things with a purpose, and that applies to Fuze as well. So if you want to be extra sneaky, you'll place a charge in a position before waiting, and people will assume that you've just moved on and will eventually move back into that position, at which point you've checked your drone 30 seconds later and you've popped a charge and they haven't heard anything going down and they're dead. So use that, it's fun. With Blitz, be patient with your flashes. Get in range before you use it, because if you use it from a distance and you don't get the flash, or you get very little flash, then you're sitting there with a very lengthy cooldown and no flashbang for any protection. You want to use that flashbang to secure kills, and so you want to be in killing range before you use the flashbang. Be smart. With IQ, find creative angles to do your anti-electronics job. So, a good example of this is if you rappel on the piano window on Consulate, you can then flip your RED on, and then you can see through the floor of piano into the garage, where you can shoot whatever thing is on the garage wall without exposing yourself to too much danger. So, be smart, get your job done. With Buck, you can deal with gadgets from below and above. And also, if you get into a position where you're going to be fighting someone up close and you're either running out of ammo or you just need something that's going to have a bit more of a chance than you hopefully missing, well, hopefully not missing, but you know, if you're not feeling very confident, you can use your skeleton key up close. It's not a bad shotgun overall. It does deal quite a lot of damage. It doesn't have a lot of range, but you know, it'll get the job done up close, so it's there in a pinch. But as I said, with the gadgets, you can shoot from above to destroy setups, you can shoot from below to destroy setups. So do this. I'm talking about mirrors, I'm talking about bandits, I'm talking about all the people that you want to be dealing with. With Blackbeard, maximise the cover use to create safe angles, so you want to be standing or aiming high to keep your head covered. The thing I mean about this is if you're crouching into a room and you're approaching people, there is a high chance that if they stand up, they will actually see your head. Or if you're aiming low, there is a chance that your head will be exposed. The gadget's a bit weird in the way that it actually covers you. So try to use the angles to your advantage. A good way of doing this is actually to be low on a window, looking up. So if you're doing that rappel, it means that basically the only thing that's exposed is your shield rather than your face. Obviously your face will be exposed if you get shot, which is a good thing, because before you could get shot tons of times, his face wouldn't be exposed. But you know, it's good, it's good. Try that. If you're playing as Capitao, bear in mind that if you shoot a fireball on the ceiling, that fireball will fall, because it is a propellant that falls to the ground and ignites on people. So you can use this to burn people without exposing yourself. Idea surrounding this is basically if you're on a site like Penthouse and Coastline and they're behind the bed, you can go lower down on the window without exposing your head, shoot the bolt at the ceiling, it will then fall upon the person lying behind the bed or the shield or whatever. Problem solved without having to peek and potentially take damage or even die. With Hibana, if someone's impact tricking the hatch, and that is throwing an impact grenade from below or above to destroy whatever thing you're placing on it, you can instead place only 2 pellets at a time to minimise the loss of utility that you're getting. So place that 2 pellet charge and you're not going to be losing too much, but the enemy's still going to be forced to have to take out your charge, because you know, that's the way it works. Either that or they leave it and then you just need to place 2 more pellets, and those 2 pellets will destroy the remainder of the hatch, because you only need 4 pellets to breach a hatch in the current game, so remember that. With Jackal, you've got a secondary shotgun that is surprisingly good at floor destruction, so you can use yourself as a counterfeit Buck, Spanish Buck as I often call him, and you can find angles. You can do the floor destruction with a stronger primary than Buck, I would say, because it's got that slightly faster ADS, just better recoil, good damage as well. They're both good guns, but his is just better to manage, I would say. And so that, in tandem with the fact that you can see footsteps so that you know the general hotspots of the room, it makes him a pretty potent floor destructor person. I kind of lost it a bit there, but doesn't matter. So yeah, Spanish Buck, use them. With Ying, you can use your candelas like cluster chargers and attach them to surfaces when you're up close. You'll know you're close enough because your hand will move from throwing the thing to kind of arcing it towards the wall. So you'll see it'll be a distinct change in the way that your hand is positioned on the screen once you're close enough to do it, at which point she will unscrew the cap on the candela, she'll place it onto the wall, twist it, and it'll detonate at the same time as it would if you're rolling it, but except it doesn't have that rolling. So if you were throwing one that was set up to instantly detonate, it will instantly detonate the moment you let go of it once it's on the wall. So yeah, bear that in mind. If you're wanting to place one that's going to take a bit longer, it's probably better to be really close to the wall anyway, so you can just close to tap it, Although don't tap it, because there is a chance that you'll just throw it at the wall. So yeah, keep that in mind. With Zofia, use her stuff. If it's not being used to destroy walls or anything like that, you can just use it just outside the threshold of a door to clear out pretty much anything that's on that door. You don't want to use it inside the threshold of the door if there is a Jaeger or a Omai, and you'll obviously hear an ADS, but you won't hear you won't hear a magnet. So it's better to just throw the thing just towards you rather than towards the inside of the room. That way you take it out, you take out barbed wire, goos, Capcan traps, all those various things. Because ultimately, as I often say in the videos, your stuff is not going to be useful if it's not used. So use it. You always want to be sitting at the end of a round with most of, if not all of, your utility expended in positive ways. You know, don't waste it, but don't ignore it. So there you go. With Dokkaebi, as soon as the call starts, so in the case of people who use point layouts, that is the moment that you see the points pop up on your screen. If it's not the case, then it will be the moment the bar is filled on the thing, like on the tablet that you're seeing. You can release the gadget button and it will cancel the animation whilst also completing the call, because you can hold on to the button and it will keep the tablet up for an extra, it's almost like a second, maybe even a second and a half, and it does literally nothing. You just hold the gadget up for no reason at all. So yeah, cancel that animation, keep yourself safe quickly. Problem solved. With Lion, save your scans for moments of pressure. I'm talking post plants, I'm talking you rushing, I'm talking defenders being aggressive and rushing at you, and I'm talking about moments where you're trying to enter the building. If you're wanting to get inside the building and you're worried that someone's going to suddenly flank around and get you, then take that element away. So that way the only people that are going to be getting you on your entry is people who are already holding those angles, and hopefully you will have drawn that out anyway. With Finka, inform your teammates that you're going to use your charge first of all, because their recoil will be affected by you popping the charge. But also, don't use the surge near the end of a round versus a smoke, because you will kill all of your teammates, because you take double damage from smoke when you are currently Finka boosted. The reason for this is because your heart rate is increased when you're hit with the adrenal surge, and so your breathing picks up, and so you're taking more damage. That's the lower reason. But the practicality is your teammates melt in smoke at the end of a round if you pop Finka charge. So do not do this. With a Maverick, if you don't have a Thatcher, or you don't have someone confident enough to play Kali, and you have a bad twitch or whatever, and you're looking for a way to get rid of denial, just basically cut a hole into the wall and then throw a grenade into the room and destroy the gadget. Make sure that you're banking it off of a wall or the ceiling or something so that it's detonating close to the wall that you've breached. But you can just cut a hole big enough to throw a frag in and then chuck the frag in, and it will destroy your bandit batteries, your well, not ADSs, because the frag will get destroyed. You know, that's something to watch out for. But your bandit batteries, your mutes, that sort of stuff will be destroyed by your frag grenade. So a bit of a ghetto Thatcher that you can create through the use of Maverick in smart ways. With Nomad, if you're clearing through a building, set up air jabs to cover your cleared areas in pathways that are unavoidable. So this is basically the same kind of thinking as leaving a glow stick in a room to show that it's been cleared, except you're leaving a glow stick that will blow your opponent across a room. So the point of this is, once you've cleared a spot, you cannot then guarantee that someone's not retaken the spot that you cleared. If you put something behind you that is not avoidable for someone who's walking through a certain pathway, then boom, 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 I want you through the drywall. And that's what you're looking for. Gridlock, use your smoke grenades to cover the deployment of your tracks if you're throwing them in your enemy's line of sight. Far too often you see Gridlock players throwing their tracks in just for it to be eaten by someone who's hiding in cover. So instead, throw the smoke down, the tracks will still be deployed, they can shoot them afterwards, but they've at least had a chance to deploy and potentially cause a problem for them if they're looking to push into you. So yeah, there you go. With Nokk, take paths alone. You are at your best when you're pushing alone, and don't destroy cams as you go. If you destroy cams, you defeat the entire purpose of you pushing through an area. The whole point is that you want to go through undetected because you can, and if you destroy cameras, you're leaving a trail pointing to the fact that someone is in that position. So there you go, another thing to consider. With Amaru, try to drone the rooms that you're actually about to grapple into, and consider opportunities to enter via hatch. So when you're entering through hatches, a lot of the time the hatch is actually a very strong position within a room, because it'll tend to be quite deep. Sometimes it'll be problematic, and it's very unlikely that they've been reinforced when you're talking about the same floor that someone is operating from. So ones that spring to mind, you've got the hatch in Cocktail, on Cafe. That is a perfect example because it's on the opposite side of where most defenders sit. It'll give you a view into Freezer, so you can take people out from there. The only thing is, try to stow a drone nearby so that you can actually have a look around, because guesswork is not good in a competitive game. You don't want to be 50-50 in your chance of survival just to get into the room. So yes, think about this, be smart, be safe. With Kali, know your ranges and know your gadgets. Use your sidearm up close, and if it's a mute or a bandit that you're dealing with, try to aim low on the wall. So that's the thing. A lot of the time you'll have Kali players who place the charge too high. The radius on the lance is actually not that great, so you do need to be reasonably accurate with where you place in it. If it's a Kaid, then you want to be droning in to see where the electrical claw is. Thankfully now with ping 2.0 you can ping that gadget and make it dead easy for you to destroy it afterwards. But you want to bear that in mind. Don't just blindly throw a lance at a wall just because it's electrified, because you don't necessarily know what's electrifying it. With your sniper rifle, it's good for style points. Is it that good in practicality? In most situations, no it's not, and you've got to swallow your pride and realise that you're better using that SMG sidearm as a de facto primary, because it is basically a primary. It deals pretty good damage, it's got good DPS, the recoil, you know, it's harsh, but it's usable. It's usable on console, so it's definitely usable on PC. Yeah, not a bad option at all, and it's better than firing off a single shot with your sniper just to get killed. So, just gonna keep saying this, be smart, be safe, because, you know, that's it. With Iana, use the Gemini to fake push with a teammate, and call what you see as you do this. The reason you want to be doing that is because when you're pushing through, you're making the noise that a real operator would. And so if you're going for a 50-50 push, where one teammate is pushing from one doorway, or a breach, and another teammate is pushing from another, what they're going to hear is two sets of footsteps, and then they have a choice to make between those two sets of footsteps. The other thing you can do is you push in, and you have a teammate just a few steps behind, ready to push in with the intel that you've gathered, and hopefully capitalise on the fact that they think, oh, that was just a Iana, I'm safe. All of a sudden, oh no, that's not a Iana, that is an Ash, and then their head's missing. So, it's another little stratagem you can use. So, on to the next one. Ace. When you're using your utility, obviously, it's nice to breach things. It's nice to breach hatches to save Thermite from having to die if there's a site where C4s are aplenty. But also, you can use your utility for other things. So in a pinch, you can stick them to shields and they'll destroy that shield. That's Goyo shields and regular deployable shields alike. If they're thrown on a destructible surface and you have, let's say, an evil eye next to it, it'll destroy that. Sometimes the actual rolling out of the charge itself is enough to destroy something. So there's loads of ways for you to destroy utility that you otherwise wouldn't necessarily think you would get a chance to destroy. So yeah, consider doing this, because you're not always going to have situations where you need to breach 3 walls, so sometimes it's nice to just destroy something else for a change. But remember, it needs to be a breachable surface if you're going for things like Evil Eyes, because if you throw it on a hard surface, your gadget will deploy, and do nothing. It will just stick to the wall and be benign until you pick it up. So bear that in mind. And the last attacker on the list is my boy Sam Fisher, also known as Zero. And for his one, I've said that you should be deploying cams during moments of gunfire/explosion. The reason you want to be doing this is because it will mask your sticky cams deployment, and it will push it to the bottom of the enemy team's mental priority list. So when they hear a SAM cam go down but they're already in a fight, they're not going to care, because they're thinking, well, there's a camera, but I've got bigger problems and scarier problems that are armed with an assault rifle that I need to deal with first. And that's what you want to go for. Either that, or you'll be doing it into a place where it's quiet, and if it's quiet and there's someone there, they will just shoot the camera and you've gained next to nothing. Because knowing someone's in a room when you already do that is, you know, what are you really gaining from that information? Very little, because it's information you already presumably knew. So yeah, another. Hope you enjoyed the video so far, lads. I did not expect this to take as long to upload as it's going to, so I'm splitting it into 2 parts. Just going to go straight into the next video in the next one. If you want to watch it, I'll have a link somewhere once it's up. Should be within the next couple of days. Hope you enjoyed it. Catch you in a bit. Do svidania.